Oh, what's going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Wait for some folks to show up here. We're going to be doing a little bit of a riff tonight. We're going to check out a documentary and we're going to comment on said documentary as a place. And I can put it, go between full screen and kind of half screen, kind of half zoomed and stuff, and then come back to me. It's not like shouldn't be problem. It's just somebody that has this documentary that is very um, lowly circulated, and I was able to find it on YouTube. So you'll see the guy's YouTube page. Maybe here I can find that. Yes. William Todd Bryant. William Todd Bryant. That is the name of the fellow whose channel that will be checking out, checking in on the documentary that he has on there. I've seen this years ago. Gary Galuska. Hey, brother. Good to see you. Good to see you too, brother. Hope you're doing well. Good, sir. If you're watching, say hello. We're going to be watching a documentary that probably not many have seen, but you should have seen it if you haven't already. But I would venture to say that the vast majority have not seen this documentary. Maybe they have. Maybe some of the ones on this channel have come across it. I think I've mentioned it before. So if they've kept that in their memory bank and decide one day, hey, I'm going to go check out that documentary that Peter mentioned, and I'll go and have myself a look, see what all the fuss is about. So, what is the documentary? Well, the title of the stream was called Chicken Necks, like Ralphie. Chicken Necks. Right? Or like DMX and Cisco. What these chickens want, what these chicken heads want from it, and we're come on. DMX and Cisco, chicken heads. Uh, DMX, deceased. Cisco, career deceased. Don't know about the guy. Yeah, so chicken necks is the title, and the documentary that we'll be checking out is called Chicken Hawk, the Nambla story. It's a documentary into the future of what we are living currently. You watch this, it looks way older than what it is just by like the film, or like I don't remember the 90s looking like that, but it looks older than the 90s, but this is in 1993, 94. But I get, you know what, I think that's quite a while ago now, isn't it, boys and girls? Oh, have the years have passed and the days have gone by. Here we are, still rummaging through it. Further and further down the line we go. Where this carousel stops, well, Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and thou shalt know. Oh, if I was going to say you'll never know, but I had an answer for you. Jesus. See what I did there? I steered you. It's true. It's true. And if you're a person that, is, having trouble coming to a consistent belief and a consistent faith, you're trepidatious about a certain things still catch you and you got questions for it. If you're feeling that way, but yet you understand that evil is encroaching in on us, it's not in a holding pattern. It's coming in and it's dive bombing us, right? The culture war, so to speak. I mean, the absolute degeneracy and decay of our nations, Western nations, how far we have fallen from what we once were. And we really weren't even, we grew up in a good time. If you're in my age, in your 30s, late 30s now, I'm getting on that later stage. If you round it up, I'm 40. But yeah, 37. And, we were growing up in the decline, but it was the best part of the decline. It really was. And that's not really anything to brag about. It's just that we grew up in a childhood that we were probably like the last kind of normalish generation, right? My generation, the video games started, the satellite dishes started, right? The internet started, cell phones started, but they weren't always there. So we had to be grafted into using these things, right? We were shown, so we had to learn them, and it was interesting to us, right? At a young age, fairly young age, it was something different. I grew up with only 3 channels most of my life, but I had a Nintendo system and an N64. Eventually, in high school, junior high, we got a computer, so I could do schoolwork. A lot of schoolwork was done on that computer. A lot of horsing around and playing around with the webcam, taking multiple pictures and just before you could be when all I had was paint, and I'd be making pictures where I'd have 3 of me, and I'd take a picture of the room, and then I'd quickly, with different hats or whatever and different clothes or a jacket or something, take several pictures of me doing different things. And then I would take the time with that little friggin' cutting tool and cut out around everything, and then take that little dropper tool and fill in some of the rough spots and make some pretty awesome pictures. And then of course I'd draw pictures where I'm shooting a version of myself, and I got use the spray paint thing, and there's blood just flying all over the place, or really morbid rural kid stuff. But had a computer later on. Really, even when we were in high school, the internet wasn't. You didn't really like to use it because it still sucked, right? It wasn't until after high school that the internet became, fast, right? So it's kind of weird being a part of that generation, because you grew up with those that were before, and kind of coming into it, and like, and there was still like a heavy rejection at that point in time. Whereas now it's like it's the technology is all there, it's everywhere, it's so invasive. I got a computer in front of me, I got my phone in front of me, you know. You guys are in front of a computer, in front of a phone or whatever, watching, you know, big numbers right now, watching, tuned in from all around the globe, checking this out. Or the flat earth under the dome. It's good. But technology it's everywhere around us now. So even if you rejected it at one point in time, you're at the point now where you have to accept it to some kind of degree, just to do your day to day, even just paying bills and, you know, paying bills and talking to your bank or your insurance or different, like everything's done, you know, was in the mail. You still get some mail, but you get some email, you get notifications on your phone, you get all this stuff. It's so much more invasive, and there's so much more opportunity for more things to be put on you because it's right there. Oh, it's right there. It won't take you just a second to sign up. Oh, it won't just take you just a second just to do this online. Go ahead, right? And some people are all for it, and some people are not. I like technology to a degree. I use technology, but I hate signing up and doing anything online, just like I hate doing paperwork that gets sent to me in the mail, right? I'm just that type of person. So it wouldn't matter if it was technology or paper format. I still hate all that process. But anyway, so what was I even talking about? That's often the question that gets asked here. What was I talking about? Talking about how far our country has fallen, right? And we grew up in the best part of the decline, but now we're really seeing the outcome and the effects of what was done when we were younger, and even when our older siblings or our parents were younger, right? Some of the decisions that were made back then and what now is beginning to transpire because of those decisions. All these things are all converging all at once, right? And, you know, and people are waking up to it, so to speak, all the time. Every day, people seem to be coming around to this stuff, but they don't seem to quite get right around to the nitty gritty truth of the matter. They end up, you know, possibly just staring into the abyss too long. They focus so much on the negative that they never end up actually doing anything about it or able to prepare themselves for it, right? Whether or not any of us can do anything about it is one question, but the one thing that you can do is at least get yourself prepared for the things to come, and that is essentially all you can do, and prepare your family and prepare those around you, right? And that's why we're given the task to preach the gospel, because it's not the fact that someday these things might come to pass or this might happen. No, we're to preach the kingdom, because thy Lord, thy kingdom come, right? So we preach the kingdom because that kingdom is coming one day. Whether you like it or not, the kingdom is coming. And so you might as well be on the welcoming side of it instead of being on the side of it that's going to be destroyed. I don't see any other way around it. And get past all of what you think currently, because right now there are the most deceivers and false prophets out there than ever. There's never been so many liars that are out and about trying to deceive people and confuse them about this very point in time in history. Why? Because we're getting so close that at this time many false Christs will arise. People will heap together teachers, forever learning but never coming to the actual knowledge and truth of Jesus Christ, right? but rather they'll believe a lie, just as the Jews that did not accept Jesus in his day when he came in the Father's name, but there will be one that will come in his own name and they will accept him, just as Gentiles will do the same, just as people all over the world. Because that's the thing, Jew or Gentile. Ultimately, a Jew in one aspect means God's people. Now, that word has also been weaponized today, okay, to make you think of something different that it's not, right? To make it the ire of your hatred, because there are those that say they're Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And how do you know they are the synagogue of Satan? Because they do the works of their father, the devil. He was a liar from the beginning, and his works they shall do. What did Jesus call them? They called him a den of vipers, right? And it's not just those that call themselves Jews. There are many out there that are the enemies of God, Gentile included. Okay? So it's not a matter of Jew. If you want to look at however the end times play out, say if it's a atheistic New World Order, which that's the one thing it won't be. Okay? Even if that was that, okay, that's the Antichrist. If it ends up being Islam rising to the top, okay, well, it's Islam, whatever. If it ends up being the Catholic Church, okay, it's Catholic Church. If it ends up being Jewish, okay, whatever. It really doesn't matter, other than the fact that somebody is coming and is going to claim to be Christ. He's going to speak like a lamb, or he's going to look like a lamb and speak like a dragon. He's going to blaspheme God and everything holy in heaven and under heaven. He's going to change laws. He's going to change times. He's going to have people accept his mark. And the false prophet is going to tell people to receive his mark and that they are to worship him. The spiritual leader is going to tell them to worship this beast, right? Because there's one beast, there's a second beast. Okay? One is the false prophet, one is the Antichrist. The false prophet gives his power. He kneels before the Antichrist and signals to everybody who are following the false prophet that this is the king. Okay? This is the Christ. But no, it is Antichrist. And I would dare say that it's not going to be one of any of those, but it's going to be a conglomeration of it all. It's the 10 toes. It's the iron mixed with the clay. And there's only one thing that's going to destroy it. And that's going to be, because the king will be half strong and half weak. And when the uncut stone comes out of heaven on a white horse, it's going to bring that whole statue down. Okay? And the chaff will be carried away, and it'll be no more, right? Until Satan is released at the end of the 1,000 years and goes ahead and deceives the nations. But I digress, because that's not what I came here for. We're going to watch Chicken Hawk. But hey, you know what? Speaking of which, before we do watch Chicken Hawk, so a few weeks ago, I was on Super Conspiracy Thursday, okay? East Coast Canadian with Phil Brown. And Adam Green was on that show. And it was titled, Is Jesus a PSYOP? Is Christianity a Jewish PSYOP? And I got to join in the second hour of that stream. And I got to talk with Adam, debate, you might say. Some would say, had a conversation, whatever you want to call it. We were talking incommunicado, and it was very interesting. And I'm going to do a stream where I'm going to post the stream because I have permission to copy it and upload it. But then I want to do a stream where I actually go through it, because I haven't watched it yet, and I think it went well. I think it went well. I think some people that wanted it to become a debate and wanted it to become like, someone getting smashed, they would be disappointed. Because that really wasn't what I was going for in the whole thing. My whole attitude was that I didn't want to get drawn into getting defensive about anything. I knew where I stood. There wasn't going to be anything that he said that was going to shake me. So why get defensive and allow him to, cry a foul, right? A couple times I had to pull myself back, but that was just because I was more so like annoyed because it was kind of like what he was saying was ridiculous, right? And to me, it was very laughable, right? And if there wasn't a bunch of people watching, I'd be able to probably banter back and forth with them a little bit better and come to, have a little more of a hashing out of the conversation. But, sometimes you talk and guys, you talk and what are you retarded? Can't you see that, man? And then, you know what I mean? Like you do that. You kind of banter a little bit. You get a little bit aggressive with each other. There's nothing foul. It's just that you're worked up. It's a passionate thing. Just like I wasn't going to take offense to things that he said about Christianity, about Christians, about the Bible, about Jesus, about God. Why? Vengeance is the Lord's, and I will not take vengeance for the Lord. If the Lord doesn't want to strike Adam Green down for saying something like that, then why am I going to strike him down immediately, right? Why am I going to get all upset and ruin the opportunity and have everybody say this or that, about, Christian can't handle his temper, or, resorts to ad hominem attacks. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have the conversation. But honestly, Miss Maskless, good to see you, sister in Christ. Good to see you. So I didn't want to go like that. Because there wasn't any point in doing that. There wasn't any point in drawing further division and not actually having conversation and refute points, because the things that he said, you literally have to believe his methodology and the way that he sources the information, right? You literally have to believe, you have to have that concept in your brain that it's a Jewish psyop, regardless of what the Bible says, because it's Jewish psyop, regardless if they say that they don't believe it, regardless of the fact that it was written way before these rabbis ever began interpreting the word, okay? Regardless of all logic, regardless of, the Jews killed Christ. That's anti-Semitic to say that the Jews killed Christ. Well, the Jews did kill Christ, and they're unrepentant of it. Should we hate Jews? Well, no, because Christ said, forgive them. They know not what they do. So no, we shouldn't persecute Jews. Right? They are our brothers and sisters spiritually. Do we like a lot of the stuff that they're doing? No, but the church fathers were Jewish, right? And that's always the argument. Well, hey, it was Jews that started the church. Yeah, but they didn't bring along Judaism, and they were no longer called Jews. And it constantly says that the Jews followed them around, and the Jews hired, disgraceful men to follow after them and beat them up and try to kill them and different stuff like that, right? It only says that the Jews started a hubbub telling, the locals that that Paul or Peter and the other apostles, that they were coming to cause trouble, right? It's always been that time and time again, yet you always hear over and over again, well, It's because the church always persecuting the Jews. And they say that the Inquisition was about the persecution of the Jews, when it wasn't the persecution of the Jews. It was persecution of Christians who would not bow themselves and kiss the ring of the Pope, who wanted to be able to read the scriptures, who upon reading the scriptures, coming to a spiritual understanding of what they actually said, instead of having a priest or a bishop read to them in Latin that they couldn't even understand, finally, when they get a piece of scripture that's in their own language and they actually have the scripture revealed onto them on their very tongue, from their very lips, and then from that they're translating it, and they're being killed and burned at the stake and hung and tortured and all these things just for having possession of it. They used to chain the Bibles down to the pulpit. I'm not trying to attack Catholics here, just like I'm not attacking Jews, or I'm not attacking Muslims. I'm not attacking atheists. I'm not attacking anybody. I'm calling out everybody's shit, including Christianity's. Okay, I don't have a problem with that, but I'm not just going to call out Christianity and cherry pick these examples when I know for a fact that these examples that you are choosing, anybody that's a Christian knows that the example that you're choosing is a false prophet or a deceiver or a liar, or one of these, mega church pastors, or all these different ones like that. And are they accepted in Christianity? Yeah, they might be accepted in institutional Christianities, and they all might go to the world, or they might be part of the World Council of Churches and all these different things like that. But listen, when God looks down and sees all this stuff, he's not impressed with it. Just like when God looked down upon the Jews, upon Israel, and he wasn't impressed by all the sacrifices that they were doing. He wasn't impressed by how that they were basically keeping all the promises of God to themselves, and hated the idea that anybody else could be partakers in it. And they still, to this day, believe that the prophecy is yet to be fulfilled, that they are to be brought to the heights over the nations. Now, that is true. But since when, after Jesus himself said that there would not be one stone left that was not thrown down, right? When God cursed these people from the land, completely uprooted them, said, I am done with thee. I'm going to scatter you amongst the nations. Okay? And Israel has been scattered even before that. That's one scattering. But they've been scattered all throughout history since the time of the 12 tribes, and have inhabit different areas, and then have become part of other nations, and have gone and inhabited other nations, and have founded other nations. But just because they don't go by that tribe name, that's why they call it lost, right? That's why in Revelation, when God talks about that there's going to be, it talks about 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes, excluding Dan, they're going to be part of the 144,000. Well, how do you think that has come about since the time of Jesus? Is there 144,000 Jews currently, or since the time of Christ, that have kept themselves clean and followed after the Lamb wheresoever they go? Who knows who they are? I'll tell you who does, though. God knows. Not 23andMe, but God knows. God knows who his children are. He knows where, in what nations they are in. And he is going to gather his children one day. Right now, everything that's taking place in the Middle East is all man-centered, man-driven. Okay? Not one of these things have been inspired by God, other than the fact that he's inspired the rulers of this earth to come together and hatch out this plan, because they hate God and they want to overthrow him, so to speak, because they are deceived. When they had the opportunity to know God, they rejected him. And so he's clouded their conscience, he's seared their conscience, and they've become reprobate. And so the things that they do, the deception, the degeneracy that's being pushed, all of the agendas that are afoot throughout our countries, none of them, how would any of those please God? None of those would please God. They're acting as if it's the new conquest of Canaan. And this time they're going to exterminate everybody. Or have everybody exterminate themselves. Something to that effect. It's all very, very strange. But when it comes down to it, it's all the same players that are all pushing the same agendas. And those agendas, the LGBT, the Black Lives Matter, the social and civil unrest, all the record spending, the wars, the trafficking, the drugs, all like everything that's being pushed by all these same people that all claim to be, you know, the leaders of the free world, and because they've been given such a great position, you know, to really save the world. And that's what they want to do. They want to save the world. They want to save you from viruses, right? They want to save you, yet there's too many people. There's too much pollution, too much carbon. We have to reduce carbon. We have to reduce our emissions. We have to reduce our population. Oh, our population is being reduced, so we have it's reduced. Our birth rates are down. We're aborting at a unprecedented rate. We must bring in endless immigration, unending, relentless stream of it. But you say there's too many people. When you add more people to an already overpopulated place, well, then you now have to have more infrastructure just to be able to support the excess amount of people. It's not like we have cities and towns built already. Oh, wait, what are they doing? Oh, they're repopulating all the areas that they destroyed over the last 50 years. Right? Now that all those people are coming to the age of death, and there's nobody to take their place, and there's hardly any business, well, we just have to bring in these people, right? And if you are upset by it, then you're a bigot. You're a racist. You're a white supremacist. It's all very sickening. And it's all done under the banner of equality, right? And helping and all this stuff. But is it? Is it? No, of course it's not. It's destroying us. And as we continue to go further and further down the tube, it'll only increase. And we deserve it. We deserve it. Because we will not turn our backs away from all of this ungodliness. We all, well, I shouldn't say we all, but first time watching you live since flipping the channel. J.L. Plaid Smith. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, man. Yeah, that's been a while, man. That's like 2 years ago. Pretty much. Almost 2 years ago. But yeah, like we deserve it at this point because we refuse to turn away from it. And we all have these little invested interests in these different things that are poisoning our society. We all have sins, right? We all have things that we just don't want to give up, right? And that's natural, right? We are sinful by nature. A baby is born sinless, but we learn sin. And when you learn sin at a young age and you perform sin, that it affects you into your adulthood. And if you don't shake it at an early enough time, it's harder and harder to shake it later on down the line. And later on down the line, you have less of a fight in you to change anything, right? The older you get, the less you want to change anything. The more stubborn you get, more pig-headed, the more stuck in your ways you get. And so there's some things you get stuck in your ways in, and you are in a negative feedback loop. And you can't ever shake it. And there's a lot of people right now in a negative feedback loop where they can't get rid of all this stuff. They can't seem to let it go. Like porn, for instance. A lot of people have consumed porn. You know, hopefully, if you're a younger person, you haven't. Don't ever do it. Don't start. And some people may still currently do it, and they may do it regularly. And it is what it is, but it's disgusting. And if you do it, you know that when you were younger, that it was like you couldn't stop from getting boners, right? And it was downright annoying. Well, it doesn't change when you get older. It only gets worse. If you stay in that negative feedback loop on your view on sexuality and everything like that, and you only continue to feed that lust for it, you know, whatever that might be, whatever that fetish might steer into. Well, you see what it's steered into today, right? You see people that wouldn't have been anything 10 years ago are now cats, right? People that wouldn't have, you know, they might have been a little bit weird 20 years ago, but now they're a woman or a man that was able to have 3 children, right? Like they go back and they retroactively change their gender too, and it's like I'm a man and I have 3 children. Neuroplasticity testifies to this. It's nuts, right? Like, And because and that's the thing, right? Like, whether or not you've engaged in something or not, if you say that is bad, that is not a good thing, should people be consuming it? When is it ever? When is it? I mean, besides the joke, obviously, what's the positive outcome? What's the positive outcome? I'll tell you what the positive outcome is. No, but obviously that's your only line of defense is to get, is to talk dirty, right? And laugh and joke about it, right? But the reality is, we all know it's unhealthy, and we all can understand and appreciate that 100 years ago, dudes weren't looking at porno and masturbating into their 20s or 30s or anything like that, or definitely not in their 40s, definitely not in their 50s. There was no pornography. There was none of this stuff. Like, it didn't even tempt the mind like it does today. And that's the thing. They said that the sexual revolution is because of this, tightening of everything, and just, no, we got to be, we can't do any of that stuff. And so that just drives people towards it. Well, is it? No, it's not that because someone says don't do it, that it drives you towards it. It's because they make that thing palatable to the consumer. Right? Hey, you're a teenager, you got boners, we got your fix. It's free, and you can access it any time of the day on your phone. Right? And that is absolutely evil, that a temptation like that can be put in front of somebody. Right? And all it takes is for you to have that idea, and then a couple keystrokes, and then a few strokes for different folks. Right? And the fact of the matter is, I mean, that's powerful, especially for kids, and that's really damaging, because the stuff that would be out there now would be just, you wouldn't even, you probably wouldn't even know what you were watching, right? If you were just somebody that watched what's on the news, like if you just watched the news and seen what they're promoting in the education system, what you see with the drag time story hours, with the gay parades and all this stuff like that, when you see what they're doing and what they're churning out for content for kids, and how all the celebrities have, crazy hair and different colored hair, and they look like aliens, look retarded, sound retarded, act retarded, probably in a stupor, drug-induced stupor, mind controlled, right? Just sent out there to promote more degeneracy, more pornea, right? To further pollute the mind. And you say, well, how can a Christian country, shows how Christianity has failed the West? Really? Does it? Because I'm pretty sure that people got really secular, especially after World War II. Got really secular, and started wanting to have something different, to have less, they didn't want to feel judged. They wanted to be able to live their life, do what they pleased, right? Without having that pesky Bible dictate their life, right? Is that the case? Or is it that they promoted that boomer lifestyle to people after World War II. And because they made it, even though it didn't exist, they made it exist by showing you commercials, constantly signs and ads and different things like that that promoted and progressed the engine along. And it's no different today. It's way worse today than it was back then, just because what they were progressing was, it was mild, right? It was basically, we're women, right? And then the whole world went ablaze, right? So, anyways, all this stuff didn't just begin to happen. It's been happening. And it's been happening because it's been put out in front of our faces, right? As an object of affection. And we've accepted in some form or another and have gone after the way of Balaam, gone after the ways of Sodom and after Gomorrah, right? And there's, what's the saying that in the end, well, basically it says, there'll be people that know the truth and they'll deny it. And God says that it'll be better for those of Sodom and Gomorrah in the day of judgment than it will be for those people that had the truth and then turned away from it, rejected it. And this country, why it's going to be judged is because it had the gospel, it had God as its center, it had God's commandments, it sought after God, right? And because we have gone a whoring after pleasure and convenience and everything like that, inevitably we've become decadent. And what happens with decadence? Degeneracy. Everything starts flooding in, right? Because the old gets forgotten, right? And you never want to go back to the old. And so because and also to make it so you never want to go back to the old, they make it sound like everything before this was racist and evil and right? So everything is about just progression, right? Anyways, 48 minutes in. Should we even watch the clock now? Yeah, let's watch it. Okay. Sorry, guys. I did a lot of talking. Sorry. William Todd Bryant is the channel. Hey, what's this? One second. Why did you do that? Yeah. I don't understand why it's doing this right now. It wasn't doing this earlier. Uh, I want it over on the side. Well, that's really quite something. Orientation, not. Let's try this. Oh. That's freaking so Gabriel. All right, here we go. Chicken hot.
Well,
What's
he's an
this
American
about?
boy. He looks like an all-American boy for sure. And he's just like a flower in bloom. He's at that perfect stage in which he is hermaphroditic. That is to say, he is neither all male nor all female. Not that anybody is, of course. Everybody is some mixture of those two characteristics. But he is at the moment in that wonderful limbo between being a child.
He's in limbo. He doesn't know if he's a boy or a girl. He's hermaphroditic. He doesn't know if he wants to be a top or a bottom. You see? That sound familiar to you? This documentary, Chicken Hawk, men who love boys, brackets, the guys put abuse boys, because that's what they do. This is all abuse, violence, violation of children.
And being an adolescent. That is, he is certainly an adolescent at this point, but he still has this kind of soft, feminine grace about him.
We knew he was kind of weird, like we was walking up.
Right, because he's just starting to go through, or just hasn't quite gone through puberty yet, right? So he's still got this innocence about him. He's still smooth, no facial hair, no stubble, just so young, so smooth, so innocent.
And Michael thought
Like, and he says this guy, they're following him around and he's educating them on NAMBLA, North American Man Boy Love Association. Affiliated, recognized by none other than the United Nations.
he knew him. He was coming through. He was walking at my house. And Michael thought he knew him, but he didn't. He said, "Well, y'all want to ride?" We said, "Yeah." And so we started going up the hill.
Mike was 12, I believe, and Anthony 13.
Oh, he just loves it because he's pulling up on his joggers there.
When I was driving along the road in West Virginia, and Mike flagged me down to give.
This guy right here, you've known somebody like this, right? You've encountered somebody in your life that looked like this guy. Might not have been like this guy, but looked and sounded like this guy, like his voice and his mannerisms and how he carries himself, right? Always with mommy. Psycho. Absolute psychopathic, degenerate piece of Shit.
The Mirage. And the wonderful thing about it was that it was no fuss at all. They both went out of their way to flirt in their own way with me, just with a joyful.
They went out of their way to flirt with this 50-something-year-old man, or I don't know how old he is, this man, in their own way, is how I interpreted it. That's how I interpreted it. I just interpreted that they were flirting with me in their own way. They didn't say they wanted to hug or kiss, but they implied it when they spit in my face and called me a faggot.
I mean, just to say, here's the play of life going on, and here is something that's not seen by others, but seen and appreciated by me and the people who are participating. We're having a little play together, a little game.
We're just having a little play, a little just life is just like this little play. We're the different characters together. No one else sees our private play, but we have our own little fun and try to come to a conclusion. Like, he's drawing them in, and he's not, like, that's the thing. Like Oprah said. Okay, Oprah. Oprah! If a child molester is any good, she said in an interview, you won't even know that you were molested. In fact, you'll like it. It'll feel good to you. That's what Oprah said. You can find that. I should look that up sometime. Not right now. Got to get watching this. I'll find it. It's out there. I watched it. She said it. And all these psychologists and different ones like that, they all say it now anyways. That's what they say. They say it now in the news. That, well, no, a child's not actually hurt by it. What hurts the child is when everybody makes a big deal about it. Right? Oh, Johnny, only faggots suck dick. Excuse the language, but this is a rated R stream because the content is not. Content is shameful. And this is the thing. People are more upset about you talking about the shameful thing that's being done than the shameful thing that's being done. That's how bad our society has gone. Like, you talk about something like this, about how adult men want to have sex with kids. It's like, oh, no, I don't want to hear about that. Right? Or what they're doing at the gay pride parade is like, oh my goodness, that's stay that stuff. Right? And it's like, yeah, but they're the ones doing it. I'm the one saying it, they're the ones doing it, but you don't seem to have a problem with them. You have a problem with me saying something about it. What's the deal, man? We don't know what percentage of adults are pedophiles. Rob Freeman, Long, Director, Safer Society Program. We don't know what percentage of adults are pedophiles. But with how things are going today, soon we'll know exactly everyone. But ain't that the truth? We're going to know every pedophile here soon, guys. Sometimes I don't know if this would be considered like Machiavellian, but like I really think there's like a Jehu thing that is also going on, and I don't like it either because it involves a lot of deception. But it's like, if they normalize all this right now while the pendulum is up here and getting ready to swing back, well, once it swings back, We're gonna know who all the pedophiles are. Actually, sorry, it's here. So when it swings back, it's like, we now know who all the pedophiles are and who all signed the laws, granting them special privileges. We know everybody, right? But do you want to be on that side of the pendulum? I definitely don't want to be on that side of the pendulum. I definitely don't want to be on that side, right? I'm definitely on left, but we got to understand that there's also a very far right swing that could take place, and all this information gathering. The people that are building these systems in order to destroy their enemies are actually building their own prison, or basically like evidence folder to destroy them. It's quite amazing, really. However you want to look at it. We don't know what percentage of adults are pedophiles, but we soon will. Nobody knows what percentage of adults are pedophiles. No, we don't.
Were you ever in love?
And that's why it's like, you can't be paranoid of everybody. Well, you should be. You should be in this day and age. That if you don't know the person, if you don't know what they believe in, if you don't know how they feel, if there's one thing that you need to know, there's one thing that you need to know about your neighbor besides his name or her name, to get any kids or anything like that, is how do you feel about pedophiles? How do you feel about the sexual degeneracy of children? How do you feel about the degeneracy of society? Okay? You gotta at least agree on that. And then if you can agree on all the evil and wicked that you see before your eyes, then you should be able to draw the conclusion and plant the seed to yank said individual out of the fire and into the arms of the everlasting Savior, Jesus Christ. And you can think, you can have like this image that like that sounds like a homo thing, like that this guy is coming to save you. It's like you're waiting for someone to save you right now, right? Because you're not going out and doing anything right now. So you're technically waiting for somebody to do something to change the climate dramatically in the country. But you won't admit, right? You won't admit that. And because you won't admit that, you will also still reject Christ, because you are seeking for truth. You are seeking for something, but you're just overlooking it for some stupid, stubborn, stiff-necked reason, because it's not by evidence or by anything that you don't have proof. You've got the Bible, you've got archaeology, you see sin in front of you, you see creation out before your eyes every day. You live in a body that works and functions, and think, how the heck could that just come together by chance? And everything that goes together in the world, it just all happens to be that there's things in the ground that we use to build things. And there's things in the wood, things that grow out of the ground, trees that we're able to cut down and build things. And stuff we're able to smelt and melt and build things and do stuff and farm and plow land and raise children, live in houses, whatever, right? All these things that we can do, all these resources that we have, all these things out there, proofs of God that are right in front of you. You just have to understand what they are and not take them so for granted, because they're so everyday. And that's the thing. They're so everyday that they seem to be basic, right? And instead of going out and seeking those things in a natural way, we seek all of our truth via a computer, via or phone or whatever, but you're never actually out and seeing the beauty of creation. Like this computer that I'm using is pretty cool. It can do some stuff. I mean, it's obviously very outdated and, pretty crappy compared to a lot of people's computers, I'm sure. But regardless, it can do a lot of things, right? But it can only do what it was programmed to do, right? It can only do exactly what it was programmed to do, nothing more, nothing less, unless
No,
it's
because
unless it begins to break down, right? Right, and then when it's broken, it's done, right? I mean, the world, the earth is living, right? Like it's a creation, and it has, inner parts and bodily functions that take place. And it's insane how nature works and how everything all works together for the good and for the continuation, right? It's only by the intervention of evil men that want to subvert the natural order and put up a false nature, right? A image, a idol of sorts, and make it, this created thing, the center of attention, right? Your center of worship, right? Everybody in the world worships something, right? Should worship God because he's worthy for your worship. There's nothing that you have that isn't from him. And that's a matter of fact. It's not a, well, that's your opinion. It's a matter of fact. And my opinion is backed by eternity.
I've never felt that I would be free to express any feelings that I had towards anybody.
I became sexually active when I was 8, but that was with younger boys. The first boy that I went with was 7. At the time, we were best friends.
See you later,
And,
jail players.
That went on for 2 years. I didn't have any relationships with an adult until I was 10.
I love them.
What is in boys that you love?
I don't know. It's just I have all my life been attracted.
Hear that?
In boys that
Adult until I
That I had towards anybody.
This guy's worthy. He's never going to be able to express
I
himself.
became sexually active when I was 8, but that was with younger boys. The first boy that I went with was 7. At the time, we were best friends. And that went on for 2 years. I didn't have any...
How did you become sexually active at 8? Right? How did this boy become sexually active at 8 years old? Because he's very, he's very well spoken and very, precise in how he says what he says. But just listen to what he says.
Any relationships with an adult until I was 10.
So he started having relationships with other boys when he was 8 and didn't have any relationships with adults until he was 10. Right? The ripe old age of 10. So you think that he wasn't fed any information leading up to that? How did that progress like that? Right? How did the initial curiosity begin? That's not stated. It's not stated.
I love them.
what is in boys that you love?
I don't know. It's just I have all my life been attracted to younger boys. I can go back from the time I was about 8 years old. I could say.
Now you look at that man. Does he look like? Does he look like a pedophile? He doesn't look like a pedophile of today. But back then, does he look like a pedophile? Looks like he's got something beach. I don't know. Because he kind of looks like a working guy or like a fisherman or something.
I want a
but
little
maybe
brother,
not.
and I've always just been interested in little boys.
I've
would
wanted a
suggest
little brother, and I've always been interested in little boys. So like that guy's just got a mental sickness, but he'll reveal more. But I want you to, they're very candid on this. They are open about their feelings, but they preface things in a way, right? And they're confident when they say what they say in this, which is interesting. Again, for the time that this came out, right? Obviously, they probably weren't aware of what they were actually being filmed for. And furthermore, what you'll notice about these people, and even in these gay pride marches in this documentary, is that they're nothing like what it is today. But that is from the law of progression, right? It started at one point and we just love each other. We just want to love each other. Let us love one another. Right? Let's have the same rights as you. Oh, how come you hate us? Right? Oh no, we don't hate you. We don't want to kill you. Yeah, okay. We just want you to be happy. You know, that's what people did. They just they didn't like it, but they said, just stay away, right? Do your own thing. They had these parades, and you'll see the parades are very like it's basically like there's leather biker, right? And then there's the butch lesbians, and then there's gay guys that, you know, look like they'd be gay today, but again, it's different. And you'll see how much it's progressed in its degeneracy. Now look at this guy here.
Like anybody else, but hearing this shocking type of ideas. And I investigated a little further, and I found
I investigated a little further, and I realized I loved the little boy.
Oh, this idea wasn't that bad as they seem to be from far away. And so, and then all of a sudden, all my childhood memory came back to me, and I saw myself doing those acts with other children, and I thought that they were decent acts. I thought they were wholesome acts. I certainly enjoy myself, and I thought we had lots of fun, and
I enjoyed it. I thought we were having fun. Like on the Kinsey report there, like it lists the ages of children and how many times in a 24-hour period they were made to orgasm. And the description for orgasm consisted of crying, writhing in pain, pushing away, different like sadistic stuff that, again, you reach that conclusion, and this is in a 24-hour period, and the numbers, they literally had pedophiles that they had going out, molesting children, and then reporting back to them, and having them time the duration of the molestation, the raping.
fun. And I thought of
I said to stop myself there from talking at all.
those times, fondness.
As far as what actually happened, I thought I was talking him into it, but later I discovered that he enjoyed it a lot more than I expected, because I had been convinced by people that kids that size aren't sexual. And myself, I really didn't have a lot of strong sexual feelings at 10. But this particular person enjoyed this quite a lot, it turned out.
This particular person, I didn't have these feelings at 10, but this particular person did. And the other guy, remember, said, this guy here, said that he never had relations until he was 10 with an adult, but had relations with other boys leading up to that. And so then you got these pedophiles that are adults, and the boys are actually conditioned and prepared and ready for this, okay, by the grooming, because it's all done by grooming. You'll see how the first pedo that was driving around, how he goes about grooming and just casting the rod out there and just testing the bait. Just see what sticks. You'll notice that a lot of these guys, they will work tirelessly, and they can come in contact with many children over a period of time that will never be abused. That they are selecting and they are working on and grooming certain ones that they are feeling out. They got their feelers out there, and they try to see who is vulnerable for the brainwashing, who is vulnerable for the manipulation. That's the sophisticatedness of it, because it's sick, but the way that they go about it is very systematic, okay? Which shows you the absolute abhorrent nature of it, and how that these people, every one of them, should be taken out and released into the wild. See what I did there? You thought I was going to say something so you could shove a channel down. All I said was go and release them into the wild. I mean, we did drop a truckload of tigers and alligators and Marines, hardened mercenaries, and all these other fun little traps. Dynamite, trip cords and stuff like that, right? But we're releasing them into the wilderness, and whatever happens, happens. Someday, it'll probably, like when the pendulum swings is where it's going right now, being charged on plane. So, I don't know what that says. So, got a message. Messed me up. What was I saying? Whatever. Let's continue on.
How did it go? Well, I knew he was gay. He was one of my karate instructors, and I just got keep on to him, And
I knew he was gay. He was one of my karate instructors. So you already knew he was gay. If he was experimenting with other boys at his age, who got to those boys to make them all so bi-curious? They're butters, bi-curious butters. Ugh, that looks terrible. Coffee sat in the cup too long.
I knew what I was doing. I was fully aware.
Oh, we're only 4 minutes and 48 seconds into it, but
what I was doing. But I was very attracted to him at the time.
You felt you have the power in a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Yeah, I felt very empowered. I felt that I controlled the relationship. Which is a good thing for a kid, I think.
See how broken he is? How he slipped up? Because say he never had any experience until, that kind of experience until then. But he felt, though, but then he paused there for a second. But then he came out with, but I feel like I'm empowered because I have control over his lusts. Right? He can just say, I'll go find myself another man. Another pedophile. Oh no, Johnny, don't leave. So this is a destroyed young man. probably died of an overdose someday.
You know, and that also tends to dispel the
AIDS or
belief
something.
that that adults are always the ones in power in such relationships. I let him around. I was the one in power.
I let him
I'm
around.
definitely not out as far as being public about it.
You're out. You're out of here, bud.
Close friends of mine who know, people I've known for years and know me well, but as far as being out with acquaintances and companions that I have on a daily basis, I'm definitely not.
You see how repressed he is? Didn't even, like, besides, you could say, oh, I look kind of gay. But in all reality, if you've seen that guy, you wouldn't necessarily think that he was gay. Right? And what did he say? The circles of queers that he hangs out with, well, they know he's gay. He's come out to them. Obviously, ones he's had relationships with. But obviously his family and close acquaintances, he hasn't told. And obviously, they probably wouldn't know because he wasn't like, hello. He didn't like perspire gayness. He wasn't the epitome of gay, other than looking kind of like look more like a kind of a soy boy, but not even, because he still had a square jaw and he had angles on his face. He wasn't soft and round. He was the precursor. Like, that guy would actually be like a Chad in the he'd be a Chad today to the soy boys.
What we do know is that nobody chooses their sexual orientation, that people discover what's appealing to them. They don't decide.
Oh, I've been hearing a lot about this lately, that nobody chooses, right? Nobody chooses their sexual nature, right? Nobody chooses their gender. It's assigned to them. They have to have time to discover themselves. So what better time than when they're at a very young age and very impressionable, can't decide whether they need to pee their pants or continue watching the television, but can decide their gender as being different from what they were assigned at birth, and can also engage in they can be sexual. They have sexualities about them. There's little cues that they give, things that they say. They flirt in their own way, right? Like, how sick are you? Like, that's the thing. You can be a guy, and a chick can, give you a look, and you might interpret that look as she was, right? You can interpret it that, and it might not have even been that much, right? It might have just been an acknowledgement of presence. It might have just been oh, hi, person that I don't know, right? Doesn't have to go right to there, but, but it's the same thing, right? Like, just because you perceive something a certain way doesn't mean it is. Just because you perceived that childlike wonderment and innocence as some sort of perverse sexual engagement doesn't make it so. And if you think that way, you best keep yourself away from children. You best do whatever you can to keep yourself from that thing. Because at one point in time, it would not have been accepted. It would not have been tolerated if you ever admitted to anybody your sexual desires and lusts of that nature, you'd be lucky to be alive. You'd be lucky that you weren't kicked out of town. Look at it now.
What's appealing to them. What they have more choice or decision about is how they
What's
deal.
appealing to them based on the temptation that's put in front of their eyes, the unnatural subversion of our sexual nature, because obviously sex is a big part of life. You've got to create other human beings to continue on. All right. It's obviously a very sacred thing meant to be enjoyed by a man and a wife, right? Not outside the confines of marriage. Does it happen? Of course it happens. Is it right? No. Is it more accepted? Yes, it is. But because it becomes accepted, well, then the others want what they're doing to be accepted also. And you might not think that what you're doing is a bad thing. It still gives way for down the road for something else to creep in, which it has. Which it has. You can't deny it. Can't be denied. When you leaven the loaf just a little bit of leaven will leaveneth the whole lump, ball.
With such desires, whether they pursue them or not, or try to inhibit them, or what their attitudes are.
It shall
I've been picked up where I've worked. I've been picked up on the street. I've been called up on the telephone and asked to come in.
How many times did you sit in prison?
Huh?
How many?
I've been in prison twice. Really, I just don't try. I try to avoid boys.
See, first he was ready when he's like, I've been to prison twice for it, and I try to avoid boys because when I go to jail, the other inmates want to kill me.
Just avoid them.
And sometimes you can't.
Sometimes I can't. Right.
But when I worked in the jail system, definitely pedophiles in there. Some of the pedophiles in there. Besides knowing that what they're in there for, some of them, if it was out on the street, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. And that's the scary part.
Pretty much I do.
Pretty much. I pretty much stay away from boys. Pretty much.
Live by myself.
Live by myself.
To myself.
To myself.
Willing to sit in jail for your passion?
I don't have a choice.
I hadn't done anything.
He was told he doesn't have a choice. He does have a choice. It might be a very difficult choice for him because he made those choices at a very young age. And when you make choices at a very young age that are detrimental to your well-being, you make worse choices as you get older, which he did, and found himself in prison, obviously. So having said that, he's realized that I need to stay away from boys because I can't help what's going on in my head. There comes a point where it's mutated your brain, just like what porno does. Just destroys your whole concept of sex and what it is and what the purpose of it. And even how you look at other people. Guys, how you look at other women. Women, how you look at guys. Right? And then, again, the plethora of everything else associated with it, just beyond fornication between guys with girls and girls with guys, but guys, girls with girls, girls and animals, the whole friggin' rainbow of abominations. abomination of rainbows. And again, using the very symbol that God promised, the bow in the sky, to be a sign to all nations, to all generations, that God would not destroy the earth by a flood. Well, no, he's not going to destroy it by a flood, but he's going to destroy it by fire. By fire. And you will all be consumed in it because you didn't repent of your wickedness but continued on in it. It'd be one thing, again, I don't know what goes through people's head. I know what goes through my head. And, you know, it's very easy for a man to lust after a woman. That's a very natural thing. But that also is a problem for many men. And so I can't even imagine, right, to be lusting after another guy or to be thinking about younger people, children. And like that's all, it's repugnant and disgusting. It's repulsive. It makes me gag to even think about it. But yet some people do, and it's infiltrated their mind and become a disease. And you say, that's terrible. That's so terrible. But again, first it had to come into your mind. And then that had to manifest itself into action. Right? Whatever that action was. But if you're somebody that you'd be better off just to be single. The people want to have connection. So you're better off to get married and then just have a life and enjoy sex with your partner. The Bible's full of men that had concubines, men that had many wives. The Bible never says, yes, go and do this. The Bible is always consistent with marriage between a man and a wife. That in the day he created man and woman, right? He made them opposite, but at the same time equal together, right? To come together and complement one another. He made them specifically for one another. And there's actually a process that happens where they come together and create a baby. Well, even though they like you to think that a guy can have a baby and a girl can give sperm, you can't. Never happened, ever. But this just in, Mr. Beast has healed 1,000 people of their blindness.
I've never done anything, but
it's charity, man. He's doing such a good thing. He healed those people of their blindness. He gave them the gift of seeing. Don't hate on him. Not hating on him. I'm not hating on him. Some people are hating on him. I hate Mr. Beast just because I think he's a sniveling little rat boy. And I hate his I hate his screens for all his videos. Every video, like, insert cock for every thumbnail that he ever posts. Like, is that on purpose? I can't stand that guy. Oh man, I can't stand him. We are going to do this today. I've got 1 million Big Macs for 1 million people and $1 million for one person. Like, oh, like I hate that. I hate that whole style. Yes, sure, I understand that he's doing a, that's a very nice and charitable thing, but whatever. That's awesome that those people can see again. Did he give them the gospel? No, of course not. Right? What do you think is going to come from Mr. Beast now that he's healed 1,000 people of blindness, and now everybody and all these, people that will never be satisfied with anything anybody does. But they would be like, they're hating on the whole thing. And obviously everybody's talking about these people that are hating on the fact that Mr. Beast, donated this money, have these people get this surgery, 10 minutes, whatever. Like, if anything, it brought attention to the fact that there's a very easy surgery that can do that. But it's like, it's not the same as like he didn't actually cure them of their blindness. Like, they had a small procedure where they sucked out the cloudy material inside the pupil. Pretty awesome, pretty cool. But by all standards, like, it's not like it's a miracle. Right? It really isn't. It's just a procedure that most people don't know about because they don't have to deal with. And a lot of people that have it live in places or don't have the money or have the places that do the operations to be able to do it. Right? Well, all these people are obviously from America, so most of them just didn't have the money. But obviously, there's people worldwide that have this same issue with cataracts, stuff like that. But my whole thing with Mr. Beast is I just don't like the guy. I don't like much about him. I think he's weird. I don't trust. He looks very sneaky. I won't criticize the charity stuff, but it's such a big production. So many people behind it. Lots of money going around. Lots of publicity. Everybody talking about it. How much do you want to bet that? I'm not going to bet anybody, but how much do you want to bet that he's going to come out with something more extreme than just curing people's blindness? Right? What if he funds the first, group of 1,000 people to get the brain chip implants from Elon Musk? Mr. High Technology, Mr. Beast. Is the Antichrist? No, I highly doubt it. I would hope not. I'll be extremely upset if that's the end game. That Mr. Beast is the Antichrist. I'm like, guys, come on. Are you kidding me? Like, it's not hard to see. No, I just can't stand him. Anyways, speaking of faggots.
I'd always heard things on the news and everything saying that anybody who liked boys sexually would be a monster and would kill these kids or do these horrible things, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to stop myself from doing that. And so
I didn't want to kill them, I just wanted to have sex with them.
I had a war with myself for about 6 years. I went to therapy in many different places around the country, and finally I started realizing that they weren't being genuine with me. They really duped me. I was very well indoctrinated into the system.
I knew it was kind of risky that the FBI could have my name.
Okay, so you see that he begins starting, innocently enough, to obviously what we're talking about. And went through a whole time of questioning himself and all of his motives and what he was feeling inside and trying to push it down and doing what a person should do, and over time, hopefully, get most of that crap out of your head, right? Or have the habit of it to be far enough behind you where you're not thinking about it or doing it on a regular basis, right? Because again, even as a man, even if you don't have like gay thoughts or anything like that, but you have lust for other women, it can come up at very strange times when you're not even planning for it, when you're not even thinking of it, and all of a sudden it enters. Why? You're out and about and you see somebody. You see a chick and she's dressed in a certain manner or doing a certain thing, and it strikes you, right? So if that's what happens to normal people that have natural affections, how much more and how much worse is it for these people? But now I'm not giving them a scapegoat. They are going through a terrible battle with themselves. And at this point in time, they were still having that wrestling match. But you can see that all these ones that are talking, that eventually at some point in time, they ended up talking to some sort of a therapist somewheres. And then that therapist opened up their eyes to saying, oh, wait, what society is telling you that you need to be like and all this, that is them keeping you down from your true potential, right, of who you actually are. So you just got to experience that and let that play out.
On a list or something, but the way I was getting so sick of the way things were going, it was worth the risk.
See, back then they worried about being on a list. You should be worried that you're on a list.
The North American
You think they're worried now? Nope. They're so stupid. They're so stupid. Like, man, I'm telling you, when it swings the other way, it's going to swing so hard. It's
Man-Boy Love Association, 1979, as a support group for men who are sexually attracted to boys. Over the years, its membership...
Because remember in Running Man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like that was a dystopian future movie. And they were having, criminals be killed in this arena by these kind of gladiator kind of figures, like, and whatnot. And the crowd was all cheering on this gladiatorial thing, but they were all very much prudes, right? Because the chick in it, like, they talked about her, like, and why she was like, she slept with, I guess, however many guys in 1 year and blah, blah, blah. Like, basically just, like, calling her a thought, right? A dirty thought for. And that's why everybody wants to see her get killed by one of the gladiators, right? And Arnold Schwarzenegger, he didn't want to gun down a bunch of protesters when they're flying around this chopper because he was part of the security force. And they made it where it was him that wanted to gun all the protesters down, and that his crew tried to stop him when in reality it was the opposite way around. So they make up lies. But all those people, there was this thing where they were against degeneracy, and it was all about this hardcore justice being served out on criminals. And that was people's entertainment. Like, that's not necessarily super left, right? It's kind of super based. Now, look at this. Now here we're gonna, I just go through the files here. Usually they're up here, but for some He's the secretary. Howdy, Bruce! Red papers! He's always rubbing his face, his greasy face. Oh, what happened? What happened?
Grew from 24 to 1,500 members. During the day, Bob is a government lawyer. In the evenings, he manages the NAMBLA's national office.
The standard line is it's a political and educational organization.
Ezra Jeremiah.
Most of what we
I
do is
popped in
print a
at a
bulletin.
strange time.
Bill
Yes, you
Handelsart
did.
is the editor of the bulletin.
Just seeing me
This is for the
rubbing my
person who
face
handles
like this.
the
Yes, he just
prisoner mailing.
popped in
That
at a
is, we
strange
send
time.
out free subscriptions to.
So this
sexually
fat grease
was
ball.
worth the risk.
In 1979, as a support group for men who are sexually attracted to boys. Over the years, its
No, he
membership
does a
grew
support group for men who are sexually attracted to boys. So not a, try to change your mind support group, but a support group
from
where
24
they
to
talk about
1,500
how
members.
they look forward to a future where they can have unrelenting access to boys and girls.
During the day,
That's what
Bob
you walked. That's what you walked in. That's what was being displayed, Ezra. That's why I was freaking out there. I was doing an impression of what
was a
this guy
government lawyer.
reminds
In
me.
the
He-
evenings, he manages the
He's kind of
NAMBLA
actually my impression for this guy would be very similar to my impression for Dr. Strang from Nova Scotia, which is seemingly a lot like how I would do a Chris Farley impression.
national office.
The standard line is it's a political and education.
Standard line. It's a political education last year. I told you.
Most of what we do is print a bulletin. Bill Handelsart is the editor of the bulletin. This is
Like you can tell that piece of Jabba the Hutt would just be like he like pushes himself on his rolling chair. He's like goes up. He's got like a cane and he pushes against like the counter and grabs the file, pushes himself back. He uses his cane to use the phone. He's not that big. But
is for the person who handles
he's one of those
prisoner
really portly guys where like his pants are pulled up high and the belly is way down between the legs. And he's always sitting kind of like hunched over, looking like Humpty Dumpty.
mailing. That is, we send out free subscriptions to those prisoners who are able to receive them, which
Free subscriptions of child pornography to pedophiles while they're incarcerated. Because the magazines that they send are disgusting and disturbing and sexual in nature. Like the NAMBLA magazine publication.
there's probably about half the people that want them. Most of the prisons in the West, for instance, won't take our bulletin, but they won't take any gay publication.
They won't take our bulletin, any gay publication. Look, like, oh look at he's got his hips thrust so far in the air. You can kind of imagine if you could see up those shorts just a little bit. Oh look, he's swimming. Playing in the sand. Look how they got them posing. Sexualized. What happened to that? Like, what happened to that child? What happened to that child? What did he become? I often imagine hypothetical situation if like you were given a list showed up at your door, and the list was like 110% provable. And it was just a list of names and locations. But be sure your sin will find you out, mother. See, and that's what they do too, right? Boys, like, here, you want to see these dirty pictures? They show them pictures of naked women, right? Here, check out this porn. Check out this porn. Here, look at the porn, right? And now you don't even have to have a sicko degenerate trying to give you porn. You have parents today that are literally feeding their children to the wolves, and promoting sexual promiscuity, right? Guys that want their sons to be, chads, that are, slaying it, and ladies that want their girls to test out all their options, then live, laugh, and love. That you get parents doing that now, fulfilling the role for the pedophiles, conditioning them, preparing them to give them over to them, or to even become them. Like, what is that, right? Like,
I've substituted work with NAMBLA for actually seeking out relationships with boys or having relationships with boys. Being very active with NAMBLA and having sort of a public profile, it would be suicidal to actually have a sexual relationship, an illegal sexual relationship with a boy in this society right now.
This is a person who's writing us for about the third time. He's either desperate or very, very pushy. Dear NAMBLA, I wrote your organization earlier this month requesting information on purchasing videotapes, magazines, and other materials, but all I got was political information, which is okay, but way too much, and information on novels, which would take 2 months before I'd even get them. I thought you wanted new members and supporters, and I also thought NAMBLA was supposed to help us boy lovers to get what we couldn't get in other places, materials. We have a standard letter that we send. Dear friend, please be advised that police and postal inspectors from this and other countries make a living by entrapping boy lovers who are desperate for the kind of materials you inquire about it, etc., etc.
Well, please tell me something about it. We can't send you the material! Could you please arrest us? We can't send the material because it'll get confiscated, right? Look at this, Peter Griffin. Before Peter Griffin, guys like, yo, you're supposed to send me material of boys so I can have some to do my thing within the cell, but instead you send me this friggin' letter. I can't even read. And like, well, you see, the whole problem is that if we send you direct pornography, which we do have, we send you direct pornography, then it will get us all arrested because they're just looking. They're just looking for an opportunity to arrest us. Yeah. Yeah. Friggin' right. They should be. You should be so friggin' scared of what you're trying to cook up that you never leave your residence. And you look like you don't.
I mean, there's no other position we can take. It's difficult to know whether these inquirers are genuine or police agents or both. Probably there's a mixture, and a lot of them are just desperate and rather ignorant.
Yeah, that's right. They don't want to get entrapped, right? Because obviously cops are like, hey, send us some porno. Because that's what they do. There was that case there. The Jewish family, he was a teacher and he taught a tech class, and he had kids coming over around from the neighborhood where he would teach them how to use computers and all this stuff back in like the 80s. And it ended up finding out where he sent for a magazine or something like that. Something ended up happening where the cops were able to entrap him, but based on getting him to send them a piece of pornographic material, right? But it was just in a conversation, right? And I can't even remember what the initial cause to even investigate the guy was, but he ended up being found with all this material and stuff like that. He's clearly guilty, but there was this whole trial, and he had 3 sons. One of them was potentially involved with the molestations and was doing his own thing, and the other 2, one of them was probably molested as well, but covering up. They're all covering up. The youngest one ended up becoming gay later on down the road. There's a documentary on it, and the whole thing about the documentary is trying to make everybody else for having a problem with what was being done, okay, with what these people were engaged in. They were the problem, and that this family was innocent and was given such a hard go because of this, and more than likely were all aware of it and in on it to different degrees, and harbored it, lied about it, and deceived people into trying to make it believe that it never happened, right? And the whole time the father already knew he was going to jail and accepted it, right? But they still carried on and lied, the sons, as if he was completely innocent and that they were railroading him. And that's what these pedophiles do, and that's what they've done for years. And now we're at the point where they've gotten themselves into enough seats of influence. There's enough judges and lawmakers out there that are part of this. That's what that faggot earlier that was the attorney or the lawyer, that's his whole purpose. Guarantee you he's a pedophile. Support of it in that nature at that point in time when this movie was made, I guarantee you. So they all moved to change the laws to protect these people and criminalize those that are against them. So here all the faggots are all together. And you don't think that these guys swap sloppies when they get together? Because you know what a pedophile is when there's no kids around? Queer. That's what they are in jail. No boys around in jail, but there's adults.
All right.
I don't know if I could be able to do it with you.
Oh, Peter. So many of the boys, for whom they were then
taken and sullying that name
in prison, came to visit the prisoner who had supposedly molested molested them as an expression of their affection for the person with whom they had a loving and consensual relationship.
Thank you for taking that moral and beating it over the head into the opportunity to stage orgies.
Into consensual expression of prisoner who had supposedly molested them as an expression of their affection for the person with whom they had a loving and consensual relationship.
Thank you for taking that moral.
They had a loving and consensual relationship, even though one party is claiming to be molested.
And beating it over the head into the opportunity to stage orgies has not yet occurred. And probably Damble won't be a stage orgies has not yet occurred. And probably Damble won't be stage orgies has not yet occurred. And beating it over the head into the opportunity to stage orgies has not yet occurred. The opportunity to stage orgies has not yet occurred. The opportunity to stage orgies has not yet occurred. The opportunity to stage orgies has not yet occurred. And probably Damble won't be around.
It's coming soon, though, Fatso, isn't it? That's what you'd be just loving today, wouldn't you? I wonder what he looks like today. Wonder what color his wig is. What color eyeshadow he wears.
When it becomes possible to do so. Probably Damble won't be around when it becomes possible to do so.
Yeah, I'm sure you aren't around, you fat.
This is the poet Allen Ginsberg.
Sweet boy, your ass.
Well, let me just quote all that.
Let me kiss your face, lick your neck, touch your lips, tongue, tickle tongue end, nose to nose. Quiet question. Ever slept with a man before?
In Europe, since the late 50s, support groups for pedophiles have been popping up to actively fight the age of consent laws.
Actively supporting pedophiles to fight the age of consent. What did Trudeau do? But adjusted the age of consent and lowered it. You think that was for heterosexual? Well, sure, to degenerate them even more and give them more prerequisite to go ahead and slut around with each other. But what was it really for? It was for the pedophiles.
The Dutch have established the most liberal consent laws in the world. The official age of consent in the Netherlands is 16, yet adults are not prosecuted for engaging in sexual relations with a child above the age of 12, as long as the child's parents and a social worker approve.
Hang them all. Hang the molester, hang those parents, hang that social worker. There. Problem solved. Put that child in a loving home that's going to raise him affectionately in a godly manner. Not destroying them and sending them down the path of destruction, literally, not only of their flesh, but also of their soul. Because that's what these people do. They traffic in souls. That's why they laugh. The power that they get from all this. Of taking the innocence from a child. Destroying one's soul is one of the most wicked acts that you can do. Putting wickedness and evil before a child's eyes and causing them to stumble. Jesus said it would be better for you to tie a millstone around your neck and throw it into a lake. Sodom and Gomorrah were judged by their wickedness because they had all the men of the city and all the boys of the city also were all turned to sodomy. And that name, that country, is an ensign, is a symbol to all generations, future, past, and present, what God thinks about that kind of a society. It's called the Dead Sea. It's filled with salt, sulfur balls. The ruins of Sodom and Gomorrah are there. The cities of the plain, Admah and Zeboim.
How many high schools are there around here?
Oh, there's Clinton, there's Bronx Science, and then beyond that there is another high school, all within about 5-10 minutes walk of each other. This is very familiar. I moved here so that I would have a minimum of traveling time and could devote most of my time to work.
Most of my time to spying on the kids while they're down on the playground. That's all that's all I want to do is teach the children and to love them with all the affection that I possibly can.
Let's talk about sex's favorite part.
This seems to be a problem on whether sex education should occur in the schools, and somehow it's not a problem in other countries.
Oh yeah, remember that was always the thing growing up. Oh, in America, they're so prude. They're so much more advanced over in Europe about talking about sex. They're just so open about it. It's just like drink. They just like it's just part of their culture. They just do it, and it's not a big deal. They're so much more free and liberated over there. How many guns do they have? How free are they now? Can't even defend themselves. Overrun by migrants. Overrun by foreign armies, mercenaries. They're being wound up for a certain time.
When I taught in Scotland, it was part of...
Therefore, being placed for a particular time, that these people in this, well, there's those light-skinned boys of Afghanistan, the dancing boys of Afghanistan. So there is that section of Islam that is about that. But to many Muslims, obviously, that would be completely abhorrent, like it is to most Christians as well, and just like it is to most Jews or most secular people that have any kind of a moral compass and conscience.
The science course. I like teaching because I like boys. And as I said before, liking boys doesn't mean that you want to have sex with them. Okay?
Liking boys doesn't mean you want to have sex with them. You just you want to see them have sex.
It's much broader than that.
I don't know, I kind of think, but then again, we never know who else. I mean, we never know if other teachers are like KKK members and stuff. So, I mean, we don't know.
See, even back then, look at this liberal. We don't even know. Like, yeah, sure, there might be people that are pedophiles that rape children, but there also could be KKK members around every corner, Nazis and Hitler, right?
We don't know about their past, and just because we know about one, you know? So, I mean, I think it's his business, but still, it's kind of disgusting. He works in a school with kids, and he's like a child molester. But that's my opinion.
Don't you think it's...
But she has an opinion, right? Shouldn't be working there.
a matter of
You
concern to parents that
understand?
someone who teaches
not that
their children
controversial.
would spend hours with them every day, believes that...
Looking up and like, no, you're not getting away from me, but I'm asking you these questions.
I'm busy. You're interrupting my routine.
I'm sorry, but you're interrupting my day, and I'd really appreciate it if you would allow me to continue on with my day, ogling the boys, sweating, playing shirts and skins basketball.
I'm going shopping. Thank you very much.
News 4 has learned that the Board of Education, the Inspector General's office, and even a former...
And he just can't believe it. He just can't believe it that there's just this total aversion to sexual perversion still in society. Like, how backwards and yesteryear, are you?
Here at the Bronx High School of
You must
Science.
like praise some sky daddy and worship some archaic, follow some archaic religion or something.
Have known about Melcher.
And do I have to include maybe where this who this man is and what his ethnic background might be?
No. I don't even need to worry about that. It doesn't matter.
But it should be
They do promote it in the Talmud, though.
Why not? Because he molested 12-year-olds.
He
said it on TV.
Parents that someone who teaches their children will spend hours with them every day believes that what we consider child.
Come on, he's listening to children. He can't be around here. Come on.
If you cannot judge a person by what he does, when he does it, but only by his thoughts and by his private activities, then you can't hire anybody. There'll be no one left to do anything.
Now listen. That argument is not... Well, we were talking about it earlier, right? We were talking about the very thing earlier, right? You can't pre-crime somebody, but there also shouldn't be the availability of perversion to these people to allow them to continue in this. There should be a continual pushback so that they can never fully allow this disease in their head, this evil, wicked, perverse thought process to continue on, that negative feedback. And when society pushed back against it, it was held at bay. But now this guy wouldn't even have to worry about what he's doing. Like these people were all hiding back at this time. They're just starting to come out.
One can't be angry. One can only say that it's sad that that at least the current society's mentality is such that this kind of argument works.
See, and they know it themselves. He knows it. He knows he's disgusting. What's everybody doing? Three watching. Come on. Nobody wants to sit and watch a riff? That's okay. Just checking things out, seeing who's around. Continuing.
The whole thing about Mr. Meltzer is much ado about nothing. It's a load of crap. He didn't do anything. He's not an active pedophile as far as we know, and there's really no point in persecuting him for it. If he believes in a concept, then you can't persecute him for that. That's in your head. Then we might as well start persecuting everyone else, you know, who has concepts we don't agree with.
Oh. See, now what he said there was not wrong. What he said there was not wrong. You cannot take away what enters into the mind of somebody. It's what happens when it enters in. What does it do from that point on? Does it get nourished? Right? Is it edified? Does it seek out for others who agree? Are on the same page, right? Does it stay there? Does it come out verbally? Does it manifest and express itself physically? Or is it just in the head? At one point in time, a lot of stuff would have stayed in people's heads and they would have dealt with it, right? And it eventually probably would have been done away with in their mind as being a problem. But we soak everything today. Just for my own sake here, can you guys hear? Can you guys hear what you're listening to on it, or is it quite low? I understand that some of the, it's an older video and it's on a different channel, but some of it's pretty loud and clear on this end. Maybe some of it's not. But I haven't. Quiet night. It is a quiet night, Gary Galuska. It is a quiet night. But that's okay. Doesn't really matter. We're going to stick to it, and people can watch this after. They can watch it after. Maybe someone will share it. Maybe they'll see it and they'll be like, this was a pretty funny
Please be
riff
advised that effective immediately
on a pretty
you're not
serious
to enter the
topic.
Bronx High School of Science until further
Pretty funny riff on a pretty serious topic. Maybe I'll share this stream with somebody.
notice. Should you have any questions relative to these instructions, this kind of notice really hurts. And when I can look out my window and see the school, and it's like Moses looking across to the promised land.
You freaking imagine. It's like Moses looking across the Red Sea to the promised land. Yeah, not quite. Not quite at all, actually. Not at all. Nothing like it whatsoever. Sorry, guys, for the disgusting imagery. But
Leland has
Guys,
graduate
gals.
degrees in law and philosophy. He has been a Mormon representative in Texas and a missionary in Hong Kong. In India, he photographed
see,
child porn.
everybody's known someone like this. Mormon representative and a missionary. Just happens to look and sound really gay and wear
and was put in a
turtlenecks.
California prison for 5
Bet she doesn't tell anybody he's gay, though, right? Like, it's one of those guys that nobody knows anything about them. They're just always around. They're always part of everything. They don't have a wife. They live with their mother. Or maybe they live alone, but you don't know anything about the personal life, and it's strange. You can't put your finger on it.
years.
They got secrets. Look behind. Look at those eyes. That stupid smirk.
He's driving to his cabin retreat in the mountains of West Virginia.
Going to his cabin.
Rachel, can I give you a little of this?
No.
Just a little bit.
No. Keep
So he goes and he
What would you have
visits
for
with
dinner?
some
I mean, you better
people
have
here.
Some of this for your dinner, because we're.
He was a special friend, made friends with everybody.
This is
He took me to the...
See? And then this is the type of guy that old people would love him. I'm sure he does all kinds of good things in the community. He's going to visiting these old folks, this old lady, helping her out, feeding her, taking care of her, and probably embezzling money from her, right? At her will. And she would be his defender until the oh no, he's a good boy.
Get my apples at the orchard, and we went on down to the Canary.
Why? Because why would she ever think anything different? She'd be like, weird that he's not married, but Well, he took me to get my apples at the orchard.
And then see the birds or the ducks.
In general, there are lots of boys that precisely want to do
In general, there are lots of boys who precisely want to engage.
that is what they want to do. They make it clear, and they simply do it. They don't. What they want to do, they make it clear, and they simply do it. They don't. That is to give a blowjob. That's what to give.
Boys, they are programmed to want to give blowjobs, right? I don't know if any of you guys remember when you were a young kid and you just had this, unending urge to give a blowjob to somebody. This is what this guy thinks. This is what this guy thinks. This is what he's saying. Come on. What's going on inside of his head? He's a little panuka.
Head, as the saying goes, that's what they want to do, and they do it. That is this boy.
You know, as the old saying goes, boys will be boys, and they will suck cock. No, I never heard that saying. That must be in your circle.
In a magnificently gentle, tender sort of way, in which you could sense he was putting his whole heart and life into this experience.
He's describing the abuse of a child at his hands. You wonder why this saying in circulation?
That is what was so exceptional about it. And
that was what's so exceptional about it, was just how much he enjoyed doing it and how overwhelmed this guy was at seeing the joy and the pleasure he was taking in doing it. And it just made him so happy that he didn't have to force this kid to do it. See how sick this is? And they want to train the children to be like this automatically, right? They want to get past the middleman, so to speak, bypass the parents, bypass the natural order, bypass morality. They want to go past all that and just get to a spot where they have access, which is what we're seeing today, 110%.
Produced a remarkable sensation, and I may say a rather speedy climax.
I can produce a very dramatic sensation when I take hammer and hit you between eyes. Very dramatic conclusion. You shit yourself in 10 seconds.
In spite of the fact that it was being done in such a gentle way.
What is the fantasy? What thoughts come into your mind in such a time?
Curiously, the most powerful feelings that are evoked
See, and he just loves the opportunity to be able to talk openly about this. Like you just see it in his eyes.
Religious feeling.
Like when you're a younger dude and you're hanging out with your buddies and you can't wait to tell them about your adventures at the bar the night before. Right? Like how guys, and how all girls think that guys are.
I want to
That's what
sing
these guys
praises to the Almighty.
And they want everybody to be perverted like them, including straight people.
For having created anything so beautiful, so spectacularly wonderful.
Sexual degeneracy of all sorts is a problem, guys. Whether or not you want to admit it or not. And that's why people will say, well, whatever people do in the privacy of their own home, I guess I don't really care as long as they're not hurting anybody. That's your way out. You're justifying their behavior and you're justifying your own. And that's the only reason why you say it. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything, right? But you know what I'm saying? It's true. If you leave an opening for it, chances are there's something inside of you that doesn't want to let that go, right? You're better off it's not to be a hypocrite to say that something is evil, even if you fall victim to it. You should know that what you're falling victim to is evil and want to repent of it so that you can, right? Because if you don't know you're falling victim to it, well, then you'll give room for all manner of sin for everybody else. You make excuses for everybody else to justify the thing that you get to do because you don't want the thing that you're doing taken away. So you want everybody else to be able to do their thing so they won't come after you for your thing.
This is what is going on in me.
Anthony sat down next to
I mean,
me.
that's why some people think, well, everybody cheats. Well, everybody does drugs. Well, everybody drinks. Well, everybody cheats on their spouse. Well, everybody cheats on their taxes. Right? It's always a justification for oneself.
He was sitting there staring at Anthony, and that gave me the creeps. I mean, he was just staring, looking at him like he was a piece of meat, up and down, because Anthony just had a...
And I'll tell you, as a parent, that is absolutely terrifying when you are out anywheres and, you know, there's something very strange when an adult will come up to you and they'll start talking to you and they make everything about the child and they barely pay any attention to you, like you're not even there. All that they're fixated on is the child that they see, their target, right? If you experience that, that is a very eye-opening experience. It's very troublesome. Because did you misinterpret the situation? Did you overthink it? Or are you literally dealing with a predator that's staring at your child and you don't know what their intentions are? And you got to keep your head on a swivel. I tell my children all the time, like, they go to a Christian school. But I'm always telling them, make sure you're always somewhere with your friends and never alone, never in a room with anybody, never, if somebody tells you to come someplace, you don't go, right? I constantly beat it home that they're not to be going with strangers. They're not to just take people's word for what it is when it comes to, you know, oh, hey, your parents can't come to get you, so I'm going to drive you home. Like, I, without terrifying them, I instill a safety mechanism into them because it's a very terrifying thing being a parent and having to worry about these evil, wicked monsters that want to have their way with children and call it love. Woe to them who call good evil and evil good, because they call good evil that calls them out, that wants to punish them, right? Destroy them for their wickedness. But then they call evil good, the kind that destroys innocence and leads them to their destruction, that wrecks their life and their relationships that they'll have from then on out forever, and makes it so that that child's identity is solely around that sexual experience instead of what God would intend for them.
Shorts on.
He kept making excuses to pull up his shirt and show me his belly. And
heard that before too. That all these pedophiles talk about being at a fountain or something like that, and this little kid and they got a shirt and he keeps on pulling his shirt up and he's like and doing it in the direction of the pervert, right? So obviously he was trying to signal to the pervert how sexually open he was because he was showing off his body, right, in a manner that was turning on the pervert, right? Oh, well, she's just always flirting with me. No, she asked how your day was, right?
A highly
she had pigtails. Wow, that's to me, that turns me on. Yeah, but she wasn't doing that for you. Her parents put her hair in pigtails, and she didn't think anything of it, other than my mother put my hair up in pigtails. She's not thinking what you're thinking. He's not thinking what you're thinking, you sick
flirtatious way to any ordinary boy lover such as myself. A very
Any
exciting,
ordinary boy lover would be able to spot that out in an instant and see, oh, prime cuts.
way.
Our 12-year-old boy went out
Right?
and met.
Like how, like they would see that as an opening. We're like, I gotta get close to that kid because I can talk to them. I can engage with them because they're already engaging with me in this flirtatious manner.
At him, and he shook his hand, and we didn't think anything of it, but Jacob had to pull his hand away before Leland released his lip. My feeling is that he was feeling Jacob out, to see if Jacob was accepting to that kind of behavior.
Accepting, give me a hug. Oh, give me a hug. Yes. Okay, so she will give hugs, right? We teach our kids, you do not hug anybody, right? Unless it, so if they have a teacher and they're a certain age, like I don't care if they love their teacher, right? That teaches them every day and they do crafts and games with, and they are teaching them and helping them progress with their math and their English and stuff like that. I don't mind if a hug is given. But that's never something that has to be done, and it should never be something that an adult is asking of a child if you're not related to them. Right? That's not so hard to figure out the difference, right? When you're asking kids for hugs and when they're just giving you one. But again, this pervert would take that as an act of flirtation.
And they were walking from my house to his friend's house. And he just picked them up, stopped, pulled over, asked them if they wanted a ride, and they accepted.
He's asking us questions like
it's from
all kinds of
earlier.
stupid questions, and every time we say something to him, he take out a piece of paper and write it down.
Mike, on one occasion,
taking notes. That's
on
neurotic, right? How systematic he is.
I thought in a very flagrant but wonderful way. By flagrant, I mean they made it completely obvious that they were flirting in a sexual way or talking.
They made it obvious that they were down to do the deed. Like, you realize how sick this person is? Like, this is just like if you're a dude and every woman that you see, you think, oh, Jones, I'd like to have sex with her, right? As, normal, natural as you think that is, it's still not natural to want to just have sex with everybody. It's not, that's weird. Like, that's, like, the signal, it's like you've been cranked up too much. It's never worked out good for anybody that has that much of a sexual insatiable lust for sex. It doesn't work out for them. They always have trauma and their lives are always end up being terrible. Well, I don't know. I know some pretty rich guys that sleep around a lot, and well, you know what? They're full of materialism, and one day that'll all be gone from them. It'll all be taken away from them, and they won't look so good anymore. And the women won't like them as much as they did, right? They won't be able to perform how they did. They won't, and the money, there'll always be another guy coming around. There'll always be another rich guy, right?
Talking in a sexual way.
Back to the perverted pedophile.
Because this
First
was their
trip to hell ticket holder.
Because they were having a good time, because they understood that someone appreciated this aspect of their life, of their being.
They understood that someone appreciated this sexual flirtation, how open and willing they were to engage in this sexual banter, even though it wasn't anything like that, but he was perceiving it as that, and fashioned a whole basically fairy tale in his mind, obsession is in his mind about where he would like that to lead.
I mean, the thought of him living and waiting, you know, for your child, waiting for you. Maybe what if you got mad at your kid because he did something, you know, you go around, you know, so here he is, he's feeling bad, and here comes along Leland Stevenson to go, oh,
here comes along, you had a bad day with your kid, and here comes, and you know, he runs out of the house and goes down the road, and oh, here comes Leland Stevenson. Oh, come here, let me take you for a drive. We'll go get an ice cream or something. Let's talk about it a little bit. How much time do you got? Peter, you do that voice far too well. I do a lot of voices. That's just one of many.
poor Michael, you know, and
you see, that woman, that's what she's thinking. Like, you imagine, like, this guy is actually out there waiting, being a predator, looking for that opportunity to swoop in, right? When that vacuum is there, he's ready to swoop in and grab up his prey.
How they work, you know, they prey on these children and how they can stand up and tell people what they believe in, that there's nothing that you can do about it. I don't understand our judicial system.
See that? Stand up and tell people that's what they're about, and there's nothing that you can do about it. This was 30 years ago. Is it worse now? Yeah, it's a lot worse. It's a lot worse. Those two fags down in the States there that they adopted the kids. Oh, it's just about love. Oh, it's just about we want a family. We should have done it the natural way. Because you can't produce a baby out of a butthole without a womb, without ovaries, without, you know, the complementary tooling that goes together, that cleaves together to form, create that life, the natural processes that God created. So if you're supplanted, subversion, a perversion, sexual exploitation of innocence.
And that's for sure.
There's another bakery down there. Italian Food Center, sandwiches and catering. Okay. A little bit, yeah, I'll certainly eat something.
Go ahead.
Well, there's, I don't see too much.
Look how hot and bothered he is when he sees those kids over there.
Looks
turn right around. He's like turn right around like a kid, like a guy does when they see a hot chick and they go tell their friends, you see that. Right? Like
bakery-esque in there for sure.
Okay, here we go. I'm going in.
Is somebody gonna call you out?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. Get up.
So what happened?
What? Made the phone ring.
Oh, you made the phone ring. Oh, well, let's see how you did that.
Oh wow, how'd you do that? Anyways, I really don't care, but show me. Let me just get close up behind you here. Sneak up on you.
No, you get in trouble for doing that.
No.
Do this again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, not bad.
You answer it.
Hey, how can I get the secret?
Dial 660. The next number.
How can I get the secret? Oh, he's good, eh?
the last 4 digits of that phone number.
Of that phone, 660 plus the last 4 digits of that phone, and that'll do it.
Yeah, but you
Very
can't give it
good.
to anybody else.
Nice guy.
Goodness, okay.
You do it to the phone.
That'll be
Faggot,
our
but-
secret, Bill.
No, that's on radio.
He was so eager to tell me when his birthday was, and he was going to be 15 in less than a month on the 1st of December. And this is what life is about. This is what real life is about. I would say that this is what life is about. This is what the 1st of December, and this is what life is about. This is what real life is about. I would say this is what life is about. This is what real life is about. I would say that he was in.
This is what life is about. This is what life is about. Being able to go up to minors and flirt with them in a way, have an experience with them that gets you all hot and bothered to the point that you have to go and check your underwear. Like, oh, he couldn't wait to tell me about his birthday. It was just so amazing. This is what life is about.
In bloom, and that's it. The flower is
look at that.
Responding to
look
warmth.
at that. Wow. That's not great. Oh, you're such a dirty little boy.
I, as a human being, am bathing him in a certain kind of celestial warmth, and he feels that, and he responds.
Yeah, it's called the fires of hell, Leland. That's where you're making your bed.
Responds to that, and he thinks, oh, how nice, how wonderful that there's someone there who is appreciating what I am.
Nobody appreciates you. The only thing that I can appreciate about you is when you die.
So, with Jason, my first aim would be to get a feeling for his psychological.
Update, Leland picked up the wrong boy and got his wig split.
Logical space, which I may say I did. While I was talking to him, while I was with him, I was attempting to evaluate the degree to which he is neurotic.
Most of the persons that I've
Evaluate the degree. I'm making notes systematically, seeing where he lies on the spectrum, right? And how rebellious he is. And if I can kind of harness that rebelliousness and release it in a sexual format.
I've worked with who have offended against children, I didn't feel did this with any kind of malicious intent at all. I think
no malicious intent, because you can see the glee in his face that he really truly enjoys it. So no, it wasn't malicious intent, but the end result is evil.
Some of
clinical
them
psychologists, you should be taken out and shot yourself, because you have pushed all these psychologists.
didn't see this developing. They were drawn into the relationships in ways they didn't recognize themselves.
They did. He recognizes everything. He knows exactly what he's doing, because that's why they have contact with so many different boys, and it takes a while for them to groom the right one. So they want to bypass that whole long and arduous journey of hunting down the right boy to abuse. And they just want it to be easy. They just want easy access, right? Like pedo Peter Griffin back there said, when I cry to the stage, have open arms for one day. We will. I'll probably die of a heart attack long before that. Oh,
who
fatty
genuinely
pedophile Peter Griffin, you the fattest.
fell in love with the child. It was really a romantic attachment. I think few of them behave this way simply for sexual activity.
I believe some of them behave this way simply for sexual activity. Yeah, what's your point?
I was walking along the beach on one occasion and met a boy in his early who was friendly, open, appealing, and who was very responsive to my friendship. That is, not only was his space open.
When I put my hand on his knee, he put his hand on mine. Or he didn't push me away when I hugged him.
He wanted it to be open. He wanted to share his life with me.
So a damaged youth that you sought out and groomed to the point where he wanted to reveal himself onto you because he felt safe with you, a pedophile.
Our prep, we went on a...
they build these special friendships over time, and it's got to be an awkward time, I'm sure, for both of them. Not only the pedophile that's trying to, you know, feel things out and evaluate the situation, but also for the boy when they're coming to, however their mind starts processing what's going on, to where they think that they recognize what's going on and that they want to be part of it. It's a lot of manipulation going on.
Trip arranged by him.
And that doesn't just show up naturally, it is implanted there. 2:47, 25 minutes in. We're going to let Leland finish up what he's saying, and then we'll end it for now. I'll have to finish this up another day. It's 12:19 now. So, and I was hoping a few more would show up. What are you doing? East Coast. Nice shaved head. White supremacist. How's it going, Peter? Don't trust anyone near your kids. This scares me. This stuff. Shoot, man. You've been messaging right along, and I didn't respond. Hey, Pete, you and I should go to drag story hours and hold no groomer signs. I'd love to do. I don't even know if I could do that personally. You know what I mean? That would be. I don't think I could go. It'd be one thing to go and hold signs like around them, but then like, don't you think it would be even like once you've seen kids there, like that would be hard, man. Like I think you'd be the same way. Like I think you would get very, very angry and upset. But we should do something. Definitely. We're doing one thing though. We're talking about it, exposing it. Good to see how these devils operate. Yeah, like this is a perfect documentary for inside these sickos' minds. Because this is the roots of it. NAMBLA, publication that's been around for a long time. 60s, I think.
The intent was to achieve intimacy. This was his idea.
The intent was to molest him. The intent was to have sex with a young boy's anal cavity. Don't dress it up.
And in order to
right? Like septic tank. You're gonna play around a septic tank?
further this idea,
Make love to a septic tank?
he arranged that the sleeping bags would be zipped together so that there would be no barrier to the creation of this experience. Now, with appropriate affection and fondling and what.
That's so gay. Obviously. That's so gay. We zippered our sleeping bags together.
Not, we passed the night, and on awakening in the morning, he
passed the night, nothing happened, and then this happens.
Positioned himself in such a way that nature would take its course, and he would experience within himself a part of the body of his friend.
He positioned himself in a way so that I could enter into him, is what you're saying, Leland. What you're saying is that you banged this kid's butthole. You raped this kid. Oh, it was consensual, though. They stayed there all night long, and then when they woke up, the kid's like, it didn't happen. Now I've got to do it. Or did you make him do it? How can we believe you, Leland? You piece of shit.
And so, laying as he did on his side and producing the natural consequence of
That's
this
how
event.
they would show it in a movie. Right? Like, that's how they would try to show this in a movie to try to desensitize you to the act of how sick it is and try to romanticize it. Oh, he positioned himself, right? It's like, oh, it's like Ruth going into Boaz and lying down at his feet, right? Except for instead of the King of Kings that would eventually come out of that relationship, this is the friggin' armies of hell.
I may say that this was sufficiently relating that no lubricant was desired, was required. That is, nature or life simply produced its own for this occasion.
Now,
he experienced what he wanted to experience, and I certainly on that occasion experienced something that was very precious and fulfilling to me as well.
Very precious and fulfilling for you, Leland, to drop off a payload inside of a young boy. Like Ed. Oh, you can't actually prove that he did it.
If he would have bothered my kids.
He's talking pretty confidently about it.
One of the reasons I wanted him away from here, because he wouldn't seek any help to stop this problem that he has. And if he would have got a hold of my kids, it wasn't any good to kill him or 100 of them then. So that's why I was trying to just kind of preventive medicine, you might say.
Right? The normal response. Well, my first thought would be to kill him, but I realized that wouldn't do much good to kill him or 100 of them. Right? Because the laws are going to be on the pedophile side. He understands this.
Him out of town now.
I just want to get him out of town. You know what I'm saying?
Whenever people started shooting at me or shooting at him with rifles around here, I told him he better get out of here before he got his killing done.
I had, of course, various kinds of threats of death.
Get out of here.
It seemed
I ain't
that
going to stop him, but
the universe was saying it was time to move on, at least for a while. I'm eager to bring this back another day, another time.
Shut up, Leland. Faggot. So, it doesn't take very long for people to catch wind to like this psychopath and how he leers at the children and goes and talks to all the children. People say, who is this guy? Well, who's this guy that picked you up? Well, so-and-so told me about this guy too. He's not married. Kinda strange. Never talks to me, but always wants to talk to the boys. You know? Always trying to pick them up and take them for drives and stuff. So eventually people start figuring things out. And then, you ain't welcome around these parts no more, Leland. You better get on out here, or you go missing. A vagabond is what you are, Leland. And you should be a wanderer. Wandering pedo. So at least then everybody knows who you are. And that's why you think that in a city they can hide themselves in such a big central area. Whereas a small town, small areas, right? Unless it's like a systematic thing going on that's, you know, underground and operating and there's more people involved, people are going to find out pretty quick and they're going to want that person out of there. They're going to want that person to be removed from that town, from society, from the land of the living. Not promoted, right? Not celebrated, not worshipped, not given access to, but punished, made to feel terrified. And it's not about making these people feel terrified, it's about making them not think this way. Hey, Jumpins, everybody wants to kill me because I want to have sex with their children. But if you're at that point where you're thinking that, then where else is there to go? Because you have to enter a certain level of depravity to get to that spot. Law of progression. Anyways, Chicken Hawk, men who love, abuse boys. This is part one. We'll finish it. There's not quite half an hour left, so we can finish it another day. It's 12:30 right now. Thanks a lot for coming out, everybody that was out. Sorry I wasn't in the chat, but I was just trying to keep up and narrate along with this. Wish there would have been more people out tonight. Wonder if, I think too, people don't get a lot of notifications. I got to set this restream up because it seems like people aren't necessarily getting the notifications, but they see it after the fact. So, but anyways, this has been Peter Branscombe. I'm sorry I haven't been around in a while, guys. I'll be honest with you. I've just been it's just been warfaring, going through a lot. If you're wondering why my head shaved off, we've been going through the hair bug attack infestation. Lice found its way into our household, and it's been really, really annoying the last few weeks. A lot of washing of clothes. I shaved my head down because it was easier, and as I just didn't want to put any more stress on my wife, who was just going crazy picking through hair, because I just these hands just aren't meant for, you know, lightly going through section after section of hair with a little fine tooth comb. I just don't have the patience for it. I'm like, so anyways, I shaved her all off. My wife's like, I didn't mean they had to shave it all off. No, Jerry Galuska, it's not warm. It's been warm all winter, and then today was probably like -40 with the wind chill. It's supposed to warm up here after, I think by the first of the week, but man, cold, friggin' crazy cold, especially here. And the wind blowing too. It's not like it was cold and everything was still and silent. but it was cold and it was windy. Kind of weather that when you're out in it for too long, you make stupid decisions and you just don't think. So no, not warm weather. I wish I had my mullet still, because it was just starting to get at the point. I have it in the Super Conspiracy East Coast Canadian Phil Brown stream with Adam Green. I do have the mullet for that, but it was literally the next night that I shaved it. So we'll have to continue with this part 2 of chicken necks, and then we'll if my channel isn't removed by then, we'll hopefully get to review the Adam Green debate and go through that. I think I want to do that. Just kind of, I do better when I have a little bit of inspiration. I'm watching something, because I mean, you can see how long it took me to go through that half hour of this documentary. So yeah, takes some time, but it's fun, and you learn stuff, and you get to talk about things and expound upon things. So thanks for coming out, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll be back again soon. If you're still here, thanks for coming out. God bless you all. Have a good night, and we'll see you when I see you. Peace out.